Sentire Media.
Welcome to the Stop Italian Sounding podcast, uncovering authentic Italian food. I'm your host, Robert Campana, and join me as we delve into the rich heritage of genuine Italian food, exploring its legends, history, and traditions. Through important tips and insightful interviews with industry professionals, you'll gain a deeper understanding of authentic Italian food. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stop Italian Sounding show, uncovering authentic Italian food. So, for today's show, we have a special guest, an accomplished entrepreneur and pastry chef. Her name is Bilena Settepani, and you may have seen her all over social media. I know she's always popping up on my feed, and she's creating amazing things, which we will definitely talk about today. She's been involved in Settepani since her childhood, and after studying fashion and pastry art, she trained at the Institute of Culinary Education and in acclaimed kitchens worldwide. Now leading Settepani's marketing, e-commerce, and dessert innovations, Bilena brings fresh energy and creativity. She organizes cooking classes and collaborates with local schools, extending Settepani's community engagement through food and education. So, Bilena, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Ciao, Robert. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I love following you and listening to both your podcasts and also following your Instagram. I think you share such beautiful stories and so much interesting information that I'm sometimes surprised. So it's really nice to talk to you.
I appreciate it. And it's really nice to talk to you as well. So if you could just take a minute or two and kind of explain how you got to what you're doing now, what exactly it is you do, and we'll just go from there.
Of course. So my name is Bilena Settepani. My family and I own Settepani Restaurant and Bakery. My family immigrated to the United States in 1973. My dad was about 13 years old when he moved to America. They ended up in Williamsburg. My last name is Settepani, and my bakery's name is Settepani.
And where exactly is that located? Just so our listeners.
We have 3 locations. We're in Harlem, so we're in Manhattan on 120th and Lenox Avenue, which is equivalent to 6th Avenue. Then we're in Williamsburg. That's where we make all of our magic. So that's where our wholesale is. We also have a little coffee shop in the front. We're in Williamsburg on 602 Lorimer Street. So we're right off. If you're taking the subway, take the L train, get off on Metropolitan and Lorimer. And when you get off the subway, you can smell us when you walk up the stairs.
I bet you can. See, to me, I live in New Jersey. So for me, it's just all New York.
It's all New York.
Just go to New York.
And then we are, for the last a year ago, we opened up in the Time Out Market in Dumbo. So those are the 3 locations we currently have. But I was basically born in this business. My dad started this when he was about 13 years old. My grandparents had moved to America, and my nonna was a seamstress. She found a bakery a few blocks away from where they lived and went up to them and said, "Listen, my son needs a job after work. Can he work here?" And my dad hated it. I mean, he didn't hate it, but he was like, "I'm going to go to college." He's like, "I'm going to be the first in our family to go to college." So he decided to go to college. He got into NYU. And then when he went to NYU, he studied finance. And then there was a bakery for sale in the West Village. And my grandparents told my dad, like, "Listen, let's do this together as a family." And with the whole family, they purchased a bakery in the Village. It's no longer there. It no longer exists, but it used to be called Bruno's. It was on Bleecker Street and LaGuardia. And everyone knew it. I mean, still today, my dad walks around the Village and people are like, "Oh my God, are you Bruno?" My dad's like, "No." When they separated or businesses, so they opened there, then outgrew that space and they needed a wholesale space. So 10 years later, they opened up in Williamsburg, where we still are today. And they were the first of doing like Italian breads wholesale, which is kind of crazy because I feel like everyone sells focaccia now. And really the bread and butter, no pun intended, of our business was bread. And, we've taken some crazy hits. The world is
Settepani. I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense. So my parents, when, there were a few people involved, my dad also opened up a restaurant in Chelsea in the early 90s, late 80s, and it was called Cafe Bondi. And he had every time I was going there. I mean, of course, I was in a diaper, but I'd hear people when I go to these events and they're like, oh my gosh, like your dad had this, your dad had that. And it was called Bondi because my nonna's maiden name, my nonna, like most Italians in Italy, they don't change their last name, but my nonna kept her last name was Bondi, and her siblings were all Bondis. And the cousins that opened up Bondi, their mothers all had that last name. Right. So they named it after them, and then they had a logo that was the sun,
Which is your current logo.
which is now our current logo. I've always loved the sun, and Bondino, good morning.
Right, right. That's what I thought. Bondi, bondi. That's
Bondi,
exactly. I
yeah,
thought it was
no,
a play on the term bondi.
no, it was after my nonna, and her siblings, and then that place closed, but it was one of the first Sicilian restaurants in New York City, and they had, my dad's big on food history, so they had a historic food menu, and you can ask I mean, we still do specials at our restaurant in the city, and if you are interested in the history behind a dish, my dad will talk your ear off, and he'll say like,
I am.
okay,
You're talking to a guy that's history that
I
is
know you
very
would
much
love
focused
it.
on that. So I I would love to sit down and have a cafe
Yeah,
with your
you
dad
you
and
definitely
talk
should.
about that. Yes,
He did. Let me see if I have it. But you know the Artusi cookbook?
yes.
So it's like the most famous Italian cookbook. I think it was Casa Italiana. Anyways, when he was at NYU, they did the first translation into English. They
Wow,
sponsored the translation to English.
wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, so he was part
I
of
gotta
that.
buy one and have him sign it or something.
Yeah, you should. And it's dedicated to my nonno,
Oh, that's
who's no
nice.
longer here. So it's kind
That's
of,
nice.
yeah.
Well, it's a nice family history that you're telling, and
Yeah.
it's
So,
always good to learn to not only learn about it, but to understand the human side of businesses,
oh,
because
yeah,
you pour your heart and soul into what
truly.
you do, and I could see through your content and through everything that you guys make at Settepani. So you're doing a great job. So would you say one of your early childhood moments, because you kind of grew up
I
in this
literally grew
setting,
up in the
one of your
dough.
childhood moments you said was remember all the Italians coming over to the bakery and I guess talking,
Like
getting
on Sunday.
coffee, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember all of this so clearly. I mean, I remember going after school to our bakery in Brooklyn, and Nonna, my Nonna ran the storefront, and Nonna didn't speak any English. She lived in America for almost 50 years before she passed away. She recently passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She did not speak. It's okay. I mean, I was very close with her. I miss her dearly. But my whole life, she would say, like, you need to work in the bakery. And my dad was like, no, she needs to go become a doctor or a lawyer. Like, she needs to not work in this business. And my nonna would be like, no, like, I'm telling you, like, things work really well when you're here. And I'm like, ah, ha, ha. I was a kid. But working at the bakery never felt like work. For me, I mean, making a cannoli when you're 7 years old is one of my first memories of like kind of responsibility.
Wow.
And I remember going in, if I finished my homework, I could help with the cannoli orders, which in my head meant I can make and I can eat cannoli. So I
Yes, that's exactly what it means.
well, yeah. So we would do like one for you into the box, one for me, turn
Nice.
around.
There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, that's great growing up, and it teaches you so much. Not only how to make cannoli, but like about business, about how to interact with people,
Oh
about
yeah,
your family, about everything. I mean, you
100%.
went to school and then went to work, but you didn't consider it work. You had fun,
I
and it
could
still
never.
looks like that you do have fun.
Well,
It's
that's the thing is like I work crazy hours. And like, how many of my friends are like, oh my gosh, do you ever get a day off? Like, yeah, I do get a day off. But also so much of my world and my community is around like our businesses.
right,
I didn't always work in our bakery. I used to work in fashion and different
right.
things.
Which
But
was my
after
next
work,
question.
yeah, after work, I would go to the bakery. Or I remember asking for all, like my first job out of college, I worked at Bergdorf Goodman on 59th Street. And I remember telling my boss, I said, listen, do you mind if I don't work these few days? She was like, why? Are you going somewhere? And I was like, no, it's Christmas time. I have to work I want to help out at my family's bakery. She looked at me like I had seven heads. I was like, no, it's super busy. And like, you know,
Yeah,
the whole family kind of
you
does
have
it.
to be there. What are you going to be the only one not there?
She was like, "What?" I was like, "I've been doing this since I was a kid." Like it almost feels like tradition at this point. Like,
Right.
um, I don't remember Christmas Eve that I didn't work at the bakery. Like for me, that is Christmas Eve. Like
Yeah, you
Christmas
can't
Eve is
skip
our
it.
craziest day, or Thanksgiving.
Oh my
But
gosh. Yeah, you
Christmas, but we
probably
close
do a ton of
early.
stuff. Right, of course,
Yeah,
but you
yeah. But
probably do a
Christmas
ton
Eve,
of things, and then all the traditional aspects
yeah,
of
yeah. And
pastries as well.
exactly, we do all of that, and then on top of that, like our neighborhood of Williamsburg is changed so much. I mean, my block alone, which is what, 10 buildings, has changed from night and day since the pandemic, since 2 years ago.
Wow.
Across the street, I had a one family home. Now we have a not skyscraper, a
But
six
a high
floor
rise, yeah.
new building. And, people come into the bakery and they're like, oh, what is this? And they're like, anything. I'm like, a sfogliatella. Huh? I'm like, where are
What
you
about the
from?
zeppole? Now we're
Oh my
in
God.
zeppole season,
Which is cool. Like,
which
cause
is probably fun to talk about and educate people.
I
I mean,
love
I would
it.
have fun doing that. That to
No,
me would
I
be
love
fun.
that. I always say, like, we have two jobs. We're not just a bakery, we're not just a restaurant. We have the job of, and also, like, another thing that's very important is the authenticity. Like, I have fun with making things my own, but the only way I'm able to do something a fun flavor is by knowing how to make it the proper way,
Right.
right? So, for example, like St. Joseph's, le zeppole, sfinci di San Giuseppe,
Hmm.
we make fun flavors. Like I created the rainbow cookie sfinci. We
Mm.
do a Nutella sfinci.
So
We
as opposed
do
to the traditional ricotta,
yeah, but
sheep ricotta.
exactly. But we also do the traditional.
Of course.
But we also, people come into
So
the
you have
store.
your own spin, and that's good. And
That's
that's the creative
cool.
side of things as well, which I guess is you're tying in your fashion, your
Yeah,
creative side
I guess.
to
But
pastries, I guess, you know.
I think so. But I think what's also important, the reason I do that is my I think what the beauty of working with my family is my dad is set in his ways. And
Hmm.
you don't change an old man no. You don't change you can't
Nonetheless, a
change anyone.
Sicilian, that's not
Not a
happening.
definitely not a definitely not an Italian, but definitely not a Sicilian
Not
man.
happening.
But the thing with that is he is set in his ways. And I'm like, okay, dad, but like that is not our clientele anymore. Like, look, the neighborhood has changed so much that explained what a cannoli was to a customer. And they're like, oh, wow. A
You think
dessert
people
with
just know what it is. I don't know.
we just assume because that
Right.
is our culture. Like,
Right. Right.
fine. But we have to always do the job twice. So we teach our community about our tradition. So like I'm very proud of sharing what's Italian, what's not Italian. And even though I was here, even though I was born here in New York, I'm very proud of my Italian roots. I speak
And you should be.
Italian. Yeah, my Sicilian dialect is not great, but my Italian is clean,
You speak
proper.
it beautifully. You speak.
Thank
I've
you,
heard you speak Italian many times, and
thank you,
whether in person or even on social media, so you speak it very well.
thank you. Well, I try because I'm like, I'm representing. No one's made me an Italian ambassador, but to someone who knows nothing about our culture, our traditions, might be their first glimpse of something in Italy. And maybe this is what will inspire them to go to Italy. And like
I'm
maybe,
sure you have inspired many people to go to Italy
I hope
because
so.
you guys are creating great things. Great
Thank you.
things. I mean, the first time that I met you, I think you made tiramisu.
I mean,
I'm not mistaken. You're right.
yeah,
Right. Which I did not have regretfully because
you
that's
have to finish it.
I left a little early from that event. It
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
I
I Love
remember
Italian Food
that.
event, and I'm like, I was there all day. I had to drive all the way back down to South Jersey, and I'm like, crap, I should have tried it, but I didn't. But it's just another reason now to come up and visit your bakery, your
Yeah.
pastry shop. Absolutely. But I'm sure there are many, growing up and working in this business that you work in. There are many lessons that you learned that you could take away and use even in your everyday life as well.
No, but you're right. And I think that's also so interesting. But Italian culture and like our traditions are so tied into food,
Yep,
right? Like we have St. Joseph's Day. Again, we're going to repeat St. Joseph's Day because it's around the corner.
right around the
St.
corner.
Joseph's Day, we make pasta con sarde, which is, have you ever had pasta con sarde?
I've had pasta, yes,
Pasta, yeah, pasta con i sardi,
but yeah,
which is a
con le sarde.
con le sarde,
Con le
scusami.
sarde. Vabbè, è
I'm just telling you
femminile.
how great my Italian is.
That's okay, exactly. It's it's okay. As long as the dish is good, that's all that matters, you know?
Yeah.
Eh beh, i sardi sono persone.
Sì, le
Quelli
infatti. Vabbè. No, ma abbiamo so we,
You
so
make the
in
dish?
Sicily, we make, pasta con le sarde, and it's a pasta. We usually use bucatini, and it's a dish made with sardines, wild fennel, pignoli,
Mamma mia,
raisins.
so good.
That's a traditional way of making it. Then, of course, after la scoperta di America, abbiamo I pomodorini. So the more
Certo.
modern version has a tomato sauce, but the traditional way has a saffron broth.
Mhm.
We make it without the tomato. We do saffron broth, and we do what else? Am I missing something? Oh, and then the part that's the most I think is very interesting. Who is Saint Joseph? Saint Joseph was a carpenter, right? Jesus' dad. So to represent the sawdust, we toast some breadcrumbs, la mollica. We toast it with some colatura di like anchovies, like a little bit
Yeah.
of anchovies, a little bit of olive oil, a little parsley,
Oh,
whatever, and
I am starving right now. I have to stop recording these shows. I said this many times, but I always record it this time because it's the only time I have available.
I'm
It's also
sure.
the time where I'm starving as well. So what you're explaining is sounds delicious.
I'm sure. But we have to have you come over for lunch or for
Absolutely.
dinner sometime.
No, I definitely want to. Last time I was in Brooklyn, unfortunately, I didn't have a chance. I was busy all day. But the next, and then they ended up giving me a ticket because I went through a red light. But that's a whole
No.
nother. Yes, that's a whole nother story though. But next time I'll come without the ticket, of course,
Yeah, no
and
ticket.
visit, and we'll have to create content too. I think that would be fun
Yeah,
because
definitely.
people love to see behind the scenes and the stuff that you make. Like for example, what's your favorite thing that you said cannoli,
Of
but
course, I love
things
cannoli,
that are fun to show people. Cornetti.
cornetti. We make croissants. We make right now we're doing sunci zeppoli, panettone. But I don't know if you want to come so early in the morning to make panettone.
For
But we
panettone, you said because you do the panettone all year round, right? That's kind of one of your staples.
we do it all year round, and then every month we come up with a different panettone of the month.
Ah, so what's
So,
this month?
so this month is our craziest flavor and my favorite. It's our March Madness
Oh,
special. It is the rainbow cookie panettone,
oh wow. Eh,
inspired by everyone's favorite cookie.
exactly, the rainbow which you do as well, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, of course. That's
That's
one of
probably
my
a
favorite
big
things.
seller. So what would you say is like the signature pastry or dessert from Settepani? Would it be the panettone or
I think it's become the panettone in the last few years. I've grown up with it being cannolis. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had our cannolis, but no one makes a cannoli better than we do.
well, I
It got
would
me
love
through
to
high
be touch
school.
that.
It got me through college. I'm notoriously late, and even when I try so hard not to be late, but I hope one of
It's
my
all right. You're Italian. It's okay.
I'm Italian. That's what I said. I went to the Italian school in New York City. I would show up late for school almost every day.
Oh, you went to
My mom got
La Scuola
detention once.
Italiana, you went
I went
to.
to la Scuola d'Italia, Guglielmo Marconi.
Ah, La Scuola d'Italia.
Super
Oh, wow.
fiera. No?
So you did high school and everything through
No,
like.
I left for high school. I went from elementary, middle school, and then for
Oh,
high school, I
wow.
went off to a boarding school, but we won't talk about that. It was a great school. But whenever I was late or was trying to get an extension on a paper, an
Right.
essay, a homework assignment, I would bring a box of cannolis and I would say, Prof.
Sometimes that works. I will say I have students that own pastry shops in this area that have brought me stuff and it works. So if
Ogni
any students are listening right now, now you know.
You know how to get me.
Food.
And I would always bring cannolis. And I'd be like, how some
Because
people be
everybody
like, my
likes a good
cat
cannoli.
died. Everyone likes a good cannoli. Or people be like, my cat died, my dog died. I had one classmate
You're
who
like,
I
sorry,
think
we're stuffing cannoli.
I'm like, no one's dying. I'm just giving you a cannoli.
Exactly.
I had a classmate whose grandmother died like 5 times. And
Oh
then
my
I said
gosh.
that.
How
I
many
said,
grandparents you
oh
have?
my goodness, exactly. And she was like, they all died when I was a baby. Like, I've never met them.
Oh my gosh. That's
I was
terrible. That's
like,
terrible to lie about
that's
that.
crazy. She's like,
It's
well,
ins- that's insane.
Crazy.
But going back to the pastry chefs and your pastry shop, for aspiring pastry chefs and food entrepreneurs, if you will, given the fact that you've grown up in this your entire life, what advice would you give to those people, to the aspiring pastry chefs, and for building also a lasting brand? Because Settepani is a very well established name. I mean, I just saw that you guys worked with, if I'm not mistaken, Serie A, or you just provide. Am I right? You
Yes.
provided uh,
We
um,
made a cake for
some
Serie
dessert.
A. We made some pastries for Serie A. We're big Serie A fans in the Settepani
Okay,
household.
I'm gonna have to stop you right here. What team do you follow?
Take a wild
Oh
guess.
God, I don't even. Oh, well, Palermo. You're Sicilian.
Obvious. But Palermo is not yet in Serie A. But for anyone
They
listening,
were in Serie A. Oh my gosh, just goes to show you that I haven't really been followed. They were, if not
we're in Serie
mistaken.
B.
They're in Serie B. You guys got
But
demoted this
piano piano
piano
arriviamo.
piano.
But when Palermo goes back to Serie A, I'm saying this now for anyone to hear,
When
when I will proudly become the home for people to watch
Palermitani, yes.
Palermitani, to watch
So then
any
you
and all games.
must be a Juve fan now.
Oh God,
No.
no.
Okay,
No.
good. Milan?
Yeah,
You're Milan, me too.
I like Milan. I
Forza
mean,
Milan.
not a Milan. I kind of became a Milan fan because I'm no longer dating him, but I was dating a Milanista, and I um I
Always
just enjoy
happens through
watching
love.
a good game. Yeah, well, I don't love him, that's for sure. But while we were dating, I went to so many games in San Siro, and I have like a lot of Milan merch.
Nice.
So
It's a
I
good.
guess I'm kind of stuck.
They're
But I
fun. They're
also
fun
like
to watch when
Roma.
they win.
Yeah, well, occasionally they haven't been winning, but it's okay. But I also like Roma,
Okay.
Roma, Milan,
It's just fun
Palermo.
to watch the games in general. Like if you go to especially an Italian bar, I know there's one in Philadelphia close to where I live, close, it's an hour away, but close enough. And like whenever Italy plays in any international matches, everybody goes there, or
Oh
they
yeah,
have like the Roma club or the
yeah,
Milan
yeah.
club. And it's just so much
Yeah.
fun, that camaraderie,
Or yeah, exactly. I mean, I sometimes, if I'm watching a Napoli game, I will be a Napoli fan for the partita because it's so fun.
That's because you're really
Um,
Palermo. Your DNA is Palermo, and they're not in Serie A, so you're just like floating around. Whoever's playing, make people happy.
yeah, I'm like, as long as it's not Inter, we're fine.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yes,
when
that's
I was
true.
a
I do
kid,
agree with
I
that.
was. I mean, I've always been a big Buffon fan. Like since I think
Gigi
Buffon was the
Buffon.
first. He was the
Yes.
first crush I ever had. I was a kid. Italy won the World Cup, and I remember being like,
2006, great year.
great year. I was in Italy,
Oh
drove
wow.
around in a little Fiat. I mean, I wasn't driving. I was sitting on the roof of a Fiat with my little Italian
Yes,
flag. We watched it
nice.
with one of my mom's closest friends, who unfortunately is no longer here. But it was like one of my favorite memories. Um, but I've always said like Gigi Buffon was my first crush, and so because of that, I sympathize with Juve.
Right. Well, I
Um,
mean, you have to out of respect for Gigi Buffon. Is the
you
last
have
time
to,
Italy won a World Cup? What, 19 years ago at this? Is that what it is? 19 years ago?
I think so.
Holy crap, that's crazy. My gosh. But hopefully soon. You never know. Okay, so for aspiring pastry chefs and food entrepreneurs, what advice would you give them, given the fact that you've been in the business for your entire life? So I'm sure you have valuable feedback.
So, my best piece of advice, or I think a piece of advice that I would give to anyone, and I think this can be used in any field, not just in pastry, but my piece of advice for younger people is always I believe that there is a space for everyone in what you do. Um, Even when things are really tough, if you love it, you belong here. So always feel like there is a space for you. Sometimes you might feel like I'm not good enough. Be confident in yourself because you are your number one cheerleader. I mean, other than your mom or your dad, but always believe in yourself because people will always try to bring you down. And if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else believe in you?
That's so true.
You have to be your number because things get really tough, especially when you least expect it. Um, and success can look different for everyone. So for you, I mean, it really, you are as successful. You don't compare yourself to other people because success looks very different from everyone, for everyone. Um, and always wear a smile, even when you want to cry, because you can cry about it later, but to get through whatever you're getting through, fake a smile on your face because it makes it a little bit easier.
And that's good. Always a positive attitude. And that's like literally the first, like when I first talked to you and met you, and even when we connected today for this podcast episode, it's like the first thing was, wow, so positive and nice, and like you're fun to talk to.
Thank you.
So I appreciate that. And it's very similar to what my mom always would say: kill them with kindness.
Always.
Which is also a good piece of advice as well. So anyway, how could people follow you? How could they get in contact with your work and place orders? Because I think you ship nationwide, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
we ship nationwide on Goldbelly. You can check me out on our Instagram, on my Instagram, the bakery's Instagram. My Instagram is Bilena, Bilena Settepani. Uh, and then the bakery is at Settepani NYC. So that's Settepany NYC. Or you can check us out on our new website, www.settepani.com, and it links you right to our e-commerce if you want to ship anything, or come visit us. Google Settepani, you'll find me. You'll find my amazing family. I work with my mom, my dad, sometimes my brother. And then our team is really amazing. Our team is basically an extension of my family. Many of the people who work with us have been working with us for before I was born. So we have a very tight knit group, and we can't wait to meet you. And we hope you come visit us soon.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, everybody go check out Settepani, and I'm going to leave all the contact information in the show notes as well. So
Perfect.
anyway, Bilena, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Grazie
much.
mille. It was a fantastic
Grazie.
conversation. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you soon, hopefully.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the stories of authentic Italian cuisine. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insights and interviews. Also, feel free to reach out with your thoughts or questions on our social media channels at Stop Italian Sounding or on our website, stopitasounding.com. Grazie a tutti e alla prossima.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com, that's SENTIRE media.com, and find out how to submit your show.